And a good Wednesday to you, Central Georgia. Thanks for tuning in here for a look at your extended forecast. The warm-up continues, and finally this morning we had a lot more pleasant numbers to walk outside to as opposed to around freezing temperature, which was the number that we hit for our morning low yesterday in Macon. But the main headline today and into the next 2 afternoons, flirting with records. Yes, that is going to be in the high temperature department, not the low temperature department, which we did set a record as of last week with a low temperature of 25 compared to 26. And the mornings will steadily get warmer. We'll talk about why that specifically is, but obviously it is going to be a lot more of a pleasant environment just like this morning, but feeling even a little bit better. You may not even need anything in the way of layering as you walk outside the next couple of days. But then rain will begin moving in as we go into Friday night. We have some very minuscule rain chances throughout Wednesday and Thursday. However, as we go into Friday night into Saturday, that's when your best rain chance does lie in your 7-day forecast. So here's one of our camera views just over Warner Robins to show you it's the same story for a different day. Plenty of blue sky, maybe some high level clouds that make things a little bit fuzzy off in the distance, but overall a forecast that continues to be dominated by sunshine all across the area. But take a look at your temperatures. Remember yesterday we were just on the cusp of the 70-degree mark. I think we might have had 170 down in Vidalia. Well, here's a look at your numbers right now here at this hour. Low 70s farther up to the northeast, 72, 73, even a 71 in Monticello. 76 in Macon, 77 already in Warner Robins, and 78, the warmest number that we can spot in downtown Dublin. And that is also going to be where we have Stuff the Truck for the rest of your Wednesday afternoon. And now taking a look at how these numbers match up across the southeast. Actually 78 in Dublin. That's 5 degrees warmer than Montgomery. It's even warmer than Panama City, Jacksonville, and Orlando's temperatures down to the south of us. 77 in New Orleans. 78 in Dublin matches the number over in Houston, Texas as of this hour, but the warmest number is already above the 80-degree mark. This is giving you a good indication that we are going to be one of the warmer areas of the eastern United States throughout today. And of course, plenty of cooler temperatures farther up to the north. And if we're already in the upper 70s in a select few areas, you may be wondering, well, how much farther are we going to climb on that high temperature scale? We'll talk about that in just one moment, but I did already allude to it with that main headline, near record-breaking temperatures. So dew point temperatures, how about this? Light green on this graphic for a change. Dew point temperatures in the low 60s into the upper 50s. We've gotten a steady increase in the humidity coming in from west to east. And now it looks like we are going to have at least sufficient moisture to sprout a couple of pop-up light showers or just maybe some sprinkles throughout the rest of today. And some patchy areas of dark green are present over to the west. That westerly breeze continues to propel some of that moisture farther over to the east. Eventually it'll get down into southeast Georgia, down into the northern portion of Florida, and all the way up into portions of upstate South Carolina, and maybe even as far north as North Carolina. So the dry air is no more, and the winds a bit breezy so far. We're seeing some gusts up to 12 miles per hour up in Milledgeville, 17 miles per hour over in Butler, but your sustained winds, the speed that those winds are consistently blowing at, is just more so a light breeze, anywhere from about 5 miles per hour all the way up to a 10 mile per hour sustained wind that we find in Thomaston. I think we have the potential for some gustier winds throughout today, but it's actually going to be in those isolated areas that do get some of the yellow shades on this winds and wind gust map. But when you pair it up with some of their high temperatures that are definitely on the warmer side, I think that breeze is going to be a very welcome sight and obviously make things feel a little bit more pleasant. So let's take a look at the numbers yesterday. I did already say it, 32 for a morning low temperature yesterday, right at the freezing temperature mark. In fact, Dublin even got down to 30 degrees as of yesterday morning. So that's hovering in the neighborhood of 10 degrees below your average low this time of year. And then 76 for a high temperature, about 8 degrees above your average high of 68 degrees. So yes, we're getting into the end of November. This average high and this average low is going to continue to decrease, but we are some about 32 days away from kicking off the beginning of the winter season. So of course we know our average highs and our average lows are going to go down to say maybe some 30s, maybe even some upper 50s. That's going to be about the highest that your temperature's normal climb on a typical winter day. However, we take a look at the records. 85 yesterday. We obviously didn't really get too close to that number, still about 9 degrees off at 76 degrees. But that was set back in 2013. Your record low of 23 degrees set back in 1997 yesterday. In the year departure of rain, we are now below 3/4 of an inch above where we should be this time of year. We desperately need some rain in order to put a pretty substantial cushion, at least get this number back up above an inch, maybe even getting 2 inches above where we should be. And also really just to put an end to the dry streak that we've had very recently. We haven't received any rain whatsoever, or any measurable rain throughout the entire month of November in the Macon area. So we are going to be searching for some of that as we head into this weekend and into maybe the middle portion of next week, right before Thanksgiving. We could have another widespread rainmaker. Sunrise yesterday, 7:08, sunset at 5:32 p.m. It still feels like that sunset is way too early, but I myself do enjoy it. It gets me to bed at an earlier time than it would, say, in the summertime when the sun doesn't set until nearly 9 p.m. So it was a cool start today. I think we saw numbers as low as around 42 or 43, but that was only in the Eastmans and Dublins here in central Georgia. Most areas started out in the upper 40s, near 50 degrees, and now that is transitioning into an afternoon with near record high temperatures in the low 80s. 82 was my forecasted high. Looks like we're well on our way up to that mark already as we get closer and closer to the noon hour and then eventually into the afternoon time frame. But if we hit 82, that is going to fall about 14 degrees above average for this time of year. And like I mentioned, we are going to continue to keep these westerly winds in the forecast sustained about 5 to 10 miles per hour. That means the winds are going to consistently be blowing at that speed all throughout the afternoon. But we could have some isolated pockets where the gusts get up to 20 miles per hour, maybe feeling a little bit better and providing you for some relief from a taste of that late summertime heat, dare I even say. We also have some noticeable humidity in the forecast. Who's to say that 82 couldn't feel maybe just a tad bit warmer than that actual temperature mark? Never thought I'd be talking about that in the month of November, but just giving you an idea about how uncharacteristically warm we are going to be throughout today. So your meteogram does peak at the 82 degree mark, exactly what I did forecast for the 2 to 3 p.m. window. And then your temperatures begin to decline as we go into 4, 5, and 6 o'clock. But take a look at this. We're still in the low 70s, even just past sunset. We're going to hang out in the 70s for a little bit longer than, say, we are used to. So for the evening hours that have been mighty chilly, needing some form of a light jacket, I think it's going to be feeling a lot more pleasant as you go into a late time dinner, or maybe 6 to 7 to 8 into 9 p.m. if you have any plans for getting together with some friends or family this Wednesday evening. And then we are going to talk about the high temperatures, because obviously I did show you 82. It's what I forecasted. That was the peak on that meteogram right there. Well, our record for today was set back most recently in 1942. It was a record high temperature of 83 degrees. Now remember what I've been saying as of the last couple of days. Our temperatures have been recorded a little bit above what the models and maybe some of our graphics have been saying. So if we are to go across that same thesis and utilize that today, it's obviously going to result in some warmer numbers than 82 degrees. So we very well have a good chance to break the record throughout your Wednesday afternoon. And then as we go into Thursday and Friday, I'm even more confident in at least matching the records, because what I have forecasted of 81 degrees on Friday is going to match the record set back on Friday back in 2011 of 81 degrees. And I forecasted 82 for tomorrow. This number was actually 83 yesterday, but seeing a good amount of model consensus that the number may not be quite as warm. And I think that's just due to the increased confidence that we'll have some clouds in the picture throughout Thursday afternoon, but still enough breaks in the cloud cover to eclipse that record of 81 degrees as well for Thursday, set back in 1991. So here's your satellite and radar picture. We actually can talk about it for a change. We do see, along with the increase in moisture coming in from the west, we also are seeing some increased cloud cover and some spotty cloud cover farther north. You go in central Georgia near Jones County, Baldwin County, Putnam, and Jasper counties up there just to the north of downtown Macon. And some scattered clouds over to the east, maybe up to the northeast, but overall nothing that's still producing anything in the way of rain. And it does look like, actually, for a matter of fact, we did have a cluster of some showers right here just north of I-20, and then as it tried to cross south of I-20, kind of ran into the dry environment that we continue to have in place. So this was fairly short-lived, but maybe if you were going on I-20 east over towards Augusta or getting close up to maybe areas of Greene County, Newton County, don't know if it spawned as far west over into the Conyers and Covington area. But nonetheless, just picking apart one shower. I'm obviously getting excited because we haven't had anything to talk about on your satellite and radar over recent weeks. And now we take a look at future view. What's going to play out for the rest of today? I wouldn't rule out maybe seeing another one of those isolated showers in nature. It's going to be pretty short-lived if you do see any of them. But right now, I don't really think we have the proper ingredients for at least seeing more widespread rain. It's just going to be kind of that pop-up activity through the rest of today, and mainly in the form of some light rain, some sprinkle showers. Consider yourself very lucky if you do get some rain, not only over the course of today, but into tomorrow as well, because we don't really have any organized rainmakers that are going to send us some better rain chances until we get into Friday night. But first things first, it does look like Thursday morning. It's going to be a bit of a gloomy start. So those beautiful sunrises that you've walked out to, even though the temperatures have been mighty cold, that doesn't look to be the case tomorrow morning, but it will result in some warmer temperatures as you walk outside. So it's kind of a give or take relationship. You can have a gloomier image to walk outside to, or you can have a crystal clear image to walk out to, but it's going to be blistering cold. That's just kind of the name of the game this time of year as we transition into the end of fall and get into the season of winter. So these light green dots are still popping up all across the picture in the near vicinity of us, maybe over central Georgia. These aren't going to have any rhyme or reason to them, and they're going to continue to pop up at random locations with each new model run of Future View that we do get. Whatever you receive in the way of rainfall, if you are to catch one of these isolated light showers or a sprinkle, it's going to be very brief and short-lived. And I'm talking about maybe only lasting about 5 to 10 minutes at the very most. Or it's something so small that our radar is not even able to pick it up, so it could just dump a couple water droplets on your windshield, something that you're actually going to have to continue to maybe splash the washer fluid on top of your windshield in order to prevent those windshield wipers from just kind of screeching across back and forth. We're really not looking at much in the way of rain. I don't think we're going to see much in the way of impressive totals throughout the next 24 to maybe even 48 hours as we go all the way into Friday. So not very impactful, anything that you do see in the way of rain, but we should see more cloud cover in the picture on Thursday as opposed to what we're going to see later on this Wednesday afternoon. Now Friday morning, it still looks like the same song and dance. We go into the afternoon and there are some breaks in that cloud cover, so that's going to lead to a warm up once again into the low 80s. I do expect tomorrow we'll have some breaks in the cloud cover as well. That will lead into a warm up with a high temperature very similar to Wednesday. But then Friday in the middle of the afternoon, there's signs of more widespread rain, more impressive rainmakers in the form of more widely scattered showers, and some pockets of some orange and red that you can see that's popping up just south of Birmingham right now. So the potential for maybe an isolated storm or two is going to be there, but I think the confidence in that is going to be greater farther to the west because that's going to be closer to the frontal boundary that is driving these rain chances, and it's during that warmest portion of the afternoon. Once the rain moves into central Georgia, it's looking like the sun is already set. Your temperatures are going to begin to cool down, but not too much because the cloud cover and the moisture present is going to keep the numbers pretty warm as we actually wake up on Saturday morning. But going into Friday night, mainly some more widely scattered light showers, even some pockets of some heavier rain. I wouldn't even rule out the possibility of a rumble of thunder, but not forecasting anything in the way of severe weather. It's kind of the same as most of our rainmakers have been as of recent weeks. You're going to see mainly rain of the light variety, but some areas may luck out, get a heavier patch of rain like that severe thunderstorm warning maybe about 2 weeks ago that crossed our northernmost counties. The rest of central Georgia stayed completely dry throughout your Saturday. So consider yourself lucky, even if it is going to get a bit loud and messy outside. If you do get a thunderstorm, the only thing that you would notice is probably just some gusty winds blowing things around, and of course the heavy rainfall and the loud occasional cracks of thunder. But once again, not too much confidence in that just due to the fact those rain chances are moving in during a cooler portion of the day. Now we go into this afternoon. That moisture continues to take over. Light green all across the state of Georgia, from west over to east. not necessarily getting into this gap maybe in northern Florida, over down into southern Georgia. But we do keep our humidity at some noticeable levels as we go once again into tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow morning. So that's why I think we do have the potential for a pop-up shower, maybe even a drizzle or a sprinkle. And then that takes us all the way into the overnight hours and really early on Saturday morning. So my thinking right now is our frontal boundary is still going to be back over here to the west a little bit, but we are seeing this patch of dark green build up from the northern Gulf. So all that Gulf moisture is surging inland to coastal areas in Mississippi, Alabama, going over into the west panhandle of Florida. If we can get that frontal boundary to say clash up against this moisture and start to push it over into central Georgia, it would create some more widespread rain chances in light of more moisture to work with ahead of that frontal boundary, which already has a whole lot of lift ahead of it. So maybe a chance of some slightly more widespread rain. But right now, I think you should just plan on some scattered showers for Friday night and into most of Saturday is what it's looking like right now. But we're starting to get a better picture of this entire rain event. But right now, Future View doesn't go all the way out into most of your Saturday. We'll have to continue to see what that says later on this evening. So over the next 3 days, just some near record high temperatures. I know I say that very casually, but it is still a virtually very quiet weather stretch and not much to talk about. Stuff the Truck is on day 2 now in Dublin, and day 3, the last day, will be tomorrow at 2 locations in Macon and in Warner Robins. Those are going to be the Walmarts on Zebulon Road and the Walmart on Watson Boulevard. But take a look at your morning low temperature tomorrow, 55 degrees. All the way up to 57 degrees as we go into Friday. Yes, the increase in cloud cover is going to be a factor in leading to some of these warmer temperatures, but it's also the uptick in humidity. So your dew point temperature is going to be nestled somewhere probably in the mid 50s as you walk out the door, and your actual temperatures can't fall below those dew point temperatures. And we will continue to get decent breaks in that cloud cover as we go into the afternoons. 82 for a high temperature on Thursday, and then 81 as we wrap up the work week. The main rain chance on Friday, I still think Friday morning, Friday afternoon, and most of Friday evening should be good to go and nice and dry. However, as we transition into the end of the evening, probably somewhere there around 7 to 8 p.m., just in the hours right past sunset, that's when the best rain chances are going to be. Only about a 20% right now, and we continue to hold on to those rain chances as we go into Saturday. So stuff the truck. If you are planning on heading out and going to the Walmart in Dublin for the rest of today, you will be greeted by nothing but warm temperatures. 80 degrees for a high temperature, well, not necessarily a high temperature, but getting into that warmest portion of the afternoon, 2, 3 to 4 o'clock. And if you can't go until maybe after dinner time, going to pay the Walmart a visit around 8 p.m., still at the 70-degree mark and some mostly clear skies if you are planning on heading out to that Walmart right there around the evening hours. So not too many talking points. You may have the very slim chance of running across a brief sprinkle shower. Overall, I think it's a forecast dominated by warm temperatures and a lot of dry weather that will continue to be in the cards. So morning low temperatures up into the mid 50s, the upper 50s as we wrap up the work week. 60 degrees for the warmest morning low temperature that we have over the next 5 days. That is nearly 20 degrees above your average low of 41 degrees this time of year. So that average low has ticked down a degree from yesterday into today. And then we're back a little bit closer to where we should be. 53 degrees as you start out Sunday morning. This is still going to be a very pleasant environment to walk outside to, say, go outside pretty early and when you're making your way to church. So that will be something to look forward to. But we are beginning to see a downtick in the temperatures between Saturday and into Sunday. And we also are beginning to see a downtick in the humidity levels as we go into the end of the weekend and into the beginning of next week. You can see that we do start to see a little bit of a dip in the moisture, but it does build back in as we go into Saturday. So my thinking right now is that frontal boundary, remember that dark green area I was talking about on the humidity map, back over in Alabama, Mississippi, western Florida, it does look like that frontal boundary is going to try to push a little bit more moisture into the area before it passes through sometime later Saturday. And then once we get into Sunday, the humidity begins to drop. It continues to drop into the beginning of next week, and then we start to see it rebound as we go into next Tuesday. And your afternoon high temperatures still in the low 80s each of the next 3 days. There's those records to just remind you that we have A high temperature forecasted above the record on Thursday, exactly at the record for Friday, but maybe just falling 1 degree shy as we go into this afternoon. And then the temperatures will begin to drop down. Still pretty similar. 79 is not too far off what 81 does feel like on Saturday afternoon, but then down into the mid 70s, but still nowhere really close to where we should be on average, and that would be somewhere in the upper 60s, giving me the indication that this frontal boundary isn't going to usher in that significantly cooler and drier air. However, we do have another one that is going to follow not too far behind this first front that passes through on Saturday. So here's a look at Saturday at 8 a.m. There's still plenty of moisture in the area, some scattered showers popping up here and there, and it looks like those rain chances will continue into the afternoon. And then as we transition into Saturday evening, rain chances fizzle out during that overnight time period, and we're just left with some residual cloud cover, maybe still enough moisture to sprout a couple of spotty sprinkles or light showers, but we'll continue to finer tune that as we get future view within view of Sunday. As of right now, I don't have anything in the way of rain chances for your Sunday. Going into Monday, the GFS model, this is the one that has been trending a little bit ahead of, say, the European model for the next rainmaker going into Turkey Week next week. We do have some scattered green shades over here to the east ahead of this actual system, which right now it's giving the indication that some severe weather could be possible over into northern Louisiana, southeastern Arkansas, western Mississippi. But it does look like this frontal boundary starts to take shape as we go into Tuesday next week. Now, this is going to be important because Thanksgiving is a big travel holiday. You have plans to travel to the west on Monday. If you go over to states down here kind of in the deep south, getting over into Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, that's where the forecast is going to be messy on Monday. Going into Tuesday afternoon, it looks like that active weather is a little bit more closer to home, and we could begin to see some rain chances in the later portion of your Tuesday already as another frontal boundary takes shape. And we are pretty confident in the formation of this frontal boundary, but the timing of it is still pretty up in the air. Here's the GFS in green trailing just ahead of the European model, but a little bit better agreement than a lot of the long-range models showing rainmakers over the last couple of weeks. And this is getting into about a week out ahead of time. So right now I would plan on next Tuesday into Wednesday being kind of that time frame for a bit of a messy forecast. I know this is probably not going to line up with a lot of your travel plans, but this is 1 a.m. on Wednesday. Let's go ahead and take it out to Wednesday afternoon next week. And this does look a lot better, but it does look like, once again, we are going to have the potential for some widely scattered showers, maybe even the potential for some thunderstorms in the cards with this next approaching frontal boundary. But after that passes, I do have a good amount of confidence in the temperatures finally dropping and getting rid of the rain chances, hopefully right on cue with Thanksgiving coming next Thursday and into the rest of the weekend on Black Friday and for Rivalry Saturday in college football. So here's a look at how much rain we're expecting from both of these rainmakers now that we have a good image of this other one on the long-range models. Looks like rain starting to pop up according to the GFS model. It's early Saturday morning, right around the 7 a.m. hour, and we continue to see scattered amounts, but not too much whatsoever all the way through the course of this weekend. So obviously we desperately need some rain given the very dry stretch that we've had. Only about a tenth or two of an inch is really not going to do the job at alleviating those dry conditions. But we are seeing some promising things. If we take this all the way out to next Wednesday at 11 a.m., your totals go up a little bit, maybe closer to about a ½ inch of rain, and definitely substantial more amounts of rain farther up to the north and the northwest. And I don't quite think our rain chances have made their way through just yet at the end of this model run. I imagine maybe some of these areas of that gray shade could stretch down into northwest central Georgia, but this is a week out ahead of time. This is kind of giving you a general idea. But we are kind of seeing the same thought process amongst the European model. It doesn't quite get the next rainmaker within view either. However, with this weekend's rainmaker, it does have isolated pockets and maybe seeing about an inch of rain or two. So consider yourself lucky if you do luck out with some of those rainfall totals. Right now, I'm thinking just a couple tenths of an inch of rain for most locations in central Georgia before our next rainmaker gets going. And once again, Wednesday at 11 a.m., we start to see more shades of gray begin to pop up, but it doesn't quite make its way into our neck of the woods, indicating that the front hasn't quite made its way too close to our forecast back home. But it is worth noting it is going to be a more active forecast and a messier travel forecast if you plan on driving to the west, say around Tuesday into Wednesday next week. Tropics outlook. No surprise here, no activity expected within the next 7 days. I might just have to stop showing this graphic at this point because we just have seen no tropical activity whatsoever. But now that I say that, watch a potential area of development pop up this time tomorrow, and I will have something to talk about.